If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Kick off summer with Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances and save an extra $50 on every $500 you spend on select major appliances $396 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/28. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico. Got a great show for you tonight. Here in just a few moments, I'm going to bring on two great ladies, Nicole Weller and Dr. Patricia Donnelly, who is going to be joining me here in just literally a minute or two. But I want to remind everybody, of course, we are live every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's 7 to 9 for those of you on the East Coast and 4 to 6 for those under Pacific Time. So thank you for joining us live here on blogtalkradio.com's Golf Talk Live. I always enjoy having the listeners and some great guests on to talk about what else but golf. And we've got some very interesting topic that we're going to talk about here in the Coach's Corner panel starting us off here in just a few moments. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to spend the evening with the Millers. That's Alan and Cindy Miller. Alan, of course, is a PGA Life member. And Cindy Miller, of course, is an LPGA professional and also a Legends Tour player. And you may recall back on a few years back on Big Break 3, she was a contestant on that, and that's really where she became most noted in current times. But great teacher professional as well as a player. And we're going to talk about just some interesting things that have really happened in the industry and what they're doing to make some changes of their own to propel this game. And also I want to remind everybody, too, that if you want to call in anytime during the live broadcast, you're welcome to do so and speak with either myself or the guest. You can do so by calling area code 646-716-4667. You can also email in questions or comments to me personally at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And if you're interested in coming on the show as a guest, if you're in the golf industry, whether you're a teacher professional, maybe an entrepreneur, or maybe you specialize in the mental side of golf, and you'd like to come on the show, you can also email me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to get you into the mix. Also, follow me on Facebook personally, but also the page as well is facebook.com/Golf Talk Live blog. Make sure you have blog on the end there. And when you're there, if you haven't done so already, I would appreciate it if you'd throw a like or two on the page. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO, and that's CEO in capitals letters. As I mentioned, I've got two great ladies coming on here in just a moment. Nicole Weller, who's been on the show a number of times before, and she's, as far as I'm concerned, a class act. She's the head teacher professional at the Landings Club in Savannah, Georgia, and is responsible for all the golf education programs at the club. She's also a Class A member of the PGA of America and LPGA teaching and club professional, as well as a member of the Proponent Group. She is SNAG, TPI and U.S. Kids Golf certified and is a staff ambassador for the Littlest Golfer. You've heard her mention that on the show before, as well as serving on the 2013 and 2014 PGA National Youth Player Development Committee under Chair Allen Wronowski. Also joining her this evening is Dr. Patricia Donnelly, PhD. Dr. Donnelly is a sports psychotherapist specializing in performance enhancement for golfers and really all types of athletes. Her expertise has been touted in the United States as well as abroad. She works with both elite and recreational athletes to improve their performance through such techniques as simulating the zone, creating sense of flow, goal setting, relaxation, positive self-talk, thought stoppage, and enhanced concentration. So they're going to come on and we're going to talk about junior golfers under the Coach's Corner panel discussion tonight. So ladies, welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, let's start things off first, and we talked a little bit off air before we went live, and but I just thought it would be kind of interesting. So either one, whichever one wants to start it off, just sort of briefly talk about how the two of you met and how you sort of came together for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Sure.
I'll start. Shall I start off, Nicole?
Go for it, Patricia.
Okay. Yes, Ted, it was 2 years ago that Nicole and I met face-to-face at the PGA show in Orlando. Prior to that, we had known each other on email. We had discussed various topics concerning junior golf. Going, from time to time, if Nicole had a question, she was out in the fields with kids, with parents, and she knew that I was more in the research side of things, studying how best to teach, how best to learn golf. So we'd go back and forth on different things that came up from time to time. I had started writing papers and doing presentations on how to teach golf developmentally. And by that I mean what to teach and how to teach at different ages. I started this all the way back in 1998 at the World Scientific Congress of Golf in St. Andrews, Scotland. And my presentations and articles were always very well received. People would tell me, that's such a great idea. You're exactly right. This is what we need to do. And, over a decade later, I was like, well, everybody keeps telling me this, but nothing's happening.
Right.
And I thought, well, okay, I've got to go the next step. I put together a program. I mean, golf professionals are very, very busy people. There's one season and then the next. And, here's this idea of how to teach to very young children. And, here's the theory. And here's what these great psychologists did. And here are these techniques. But then, what do you do? So I thought I need a really great golf professional who's totally in sync with what's happening with junior golf, somebody who completely gets it. So, of course, I thought of Nicole. And as I said, we met in 2014 at the PGA show face-to-face. I presented the idea to her. I said, why don't we put our fields of expertise together and come up with a program? We got really excited about it, talking. And as I like to say, then the synergy happened. So 2 years later, this past January at the PGA show, we launched Little Golf Train.
Perfect. And we're going to talk about how it was received at the PGA show. I know there was a lot of very positive feedback that came through. Nicole, I want you to pick it up a little bit from where Patricia sort of left off. In the sense that, she references you, and I, as I said to you off air, I mean, I hear a lot of feedback from a lot of the people that I interview on the program and guests and so forth, panelists, that do have their own sort of junior programs out there, and your name has come up many, many times in conversations as somebody that really gets it, as Patricia just mentioned. You've been working with a program called Little Golfer for quite some time and very successfully. When Patricia first approached you with the Little Golf Train, you sort of, garnered the idea of what was going on. Did sort of a bell go off in your head and say, yeah, I can see this is going to be something that I want to sort of, jump on board?
literally jump on board. I like the little pun there. That was nice, Ted, for a little golf train. Thank you. But actually, yes, and I've got to give a shout out to Kate Tempesta, who helped me to connect to Patricia. So Kate just does wonderful things in this field. So we're very grateful to her for the connection. But seeing the potential for the program to grow in this way was huge. So, as I speak at presentations around the country, a lot of people are interested in doing it, but not knowing how to work with this age group. And, the ideas that are starting to come up, they were interested in trying it at their facility. So I've been very blessed to be with the Littlest Golfer. Chris and Kerry Wilson are just tremendous. I love the clubs that they have out, their concept. They have such a good heart. And I've been using their clubs for a while, and I'm like, it would be great to add this into the program because they're lightweight and they're easy to use, and there were just a lot of components that seemed to fit with the program. So I'm always trying my best to learn, and I learn a lot from others and love sharing ideas as I can. And this what Patricia and I came up with was kind of our version of how to help the industry. There are different ways of doing it, and this is just what we wanted to offer. And we're very grateful that Littlest Golfer has partnered up with us to help out with the kit portion. So as we get into the conversation, it'd be something to chat about. But it's just been really nice to have people like Chris and Kerry and a company like Littlest Golfer to help with the industry, and I'm just very honored.
Yeah, well said, by the way, both of you. I want to give a shout-out to Kate Tempesta as well. She's been on the show a number of times. She's doing a phenomenal job herself up in the New York area with helping the development of golf and some of the youngsters up there. So yeah, you're right. She's a great lady and certainly offers a plethora of information in her own right. So let's find out. Let's explain exactly for those that are tuning in here, maybe not familiar with what the Little Golf Train is. Explain what it is and what is sort of encompassed in that product name.
Sure. Patricia, why don't you take it? Why don't you start with that?
Okay. Maybe we could go back and forth on our letters.
Sure.
Okay.
So, Little Golf Train, the train is a number of things. One thing is, it too is a pun. It's a noun. It's a cute little train where we have our animals that are a big part of the program. The images are in a train. And, of course, it's train as in a verb. Mm-hmm. But it's also an acronym, and each letter stands for a seminal part of the program. So I'll start with T, and T stands for teaching through play. And this is such an important part of the program. So we're talking now about children between the ages of 2 and 5. And as we all know, there's a big difference between a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. And as such, we really have two separate curricula. One is for the 2 and 3-year-olds, and one is for the 4 and 5. But they are both based on learning through play. And I accentuate that. So it's not just learning and play, but it's learning through play. At that age, that's where the learning happens.
Right.
And I think we often forget, well, of course, our brains change and we grow up, and I think many adults, many parents think we're doing children a favor by giving them a lot of academic things early on. There's a tendency right now of many parents in preschools, sort of demanding that it become more academic.
Right.
And it's very difficult for teachers who have studied how children learn, because the learning happens. The learning happens through play, through dealing with real materials, with sand, with water, with holding a golf club, with Play-Doh or whatever. So that's essential to our program. So there's lots of play going on. And Nicole, I'll let you then take it with the R.
You got it. I'll kind of go through R&A and let you wrap up there. And Ted, just, for people who don't know Little Golf Train, the overall concept is that it's a certification program for instructors and coaches who want to learn how to work with ages 2 to 5, as well as all the curricula that we put together. So there's curricula all set in various days, formats for ages 2 to 3 and 4 to 5. And then there's also some turnkey kits that are provided if needed. To help with the equipment. So there's kind of 3 parts to it. But, as we go through the train, Patricia mentioned teaching through play. The R stands for research-based, and that's what I love about the program is that it is all based on science and, all the academia that Patricia puts in. So what we're working with is, how to best work with a 2 to 3, a 4 to 5, the differences, and all based on science. So that was important to have that theory behind what we're doing. The A stands for age appropriate. So like we mentioned, there are programs that are different for 2 to 3 and 4 to 5. So lumping a 5-year-old into a 6 to 12-year-old program, has some drawbacks. So we wanted to create something special for that age group. So our curricula is different. So a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old are going to have different kind of activities based on where they are with their development. So having it age appropriate was pretty important and separating it out that way.
Wow. And Patricia, what do the last 2 I and N stand for? What do they represent?
So the I and the N, we'll start with the I. The I think, really sets us apart, as does, I think, being research-based. And age appropriate. But the I stands for intrinsic reward. And what that means, simply, is to do something and the reward is that you love it. You love doing it. So the reward comes from a feeling inside of you. And I think we all know things that we really love, we do because we love them, and that's our reward. This is different from many programs that have extrinsic reward. So things like trophies or badges or tokens or whatever would be extrinsic reward. Actually, there are lots of studies, but one I read recently, I get really excited about research studies, but they had these very young children. They were 3 years old, and they were testing with intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. And these children figured out that when they were offered an extrinsic reward for doing, it was a drawing activity, they figured out that activity mustn't be very worthwhile. They realized that they were being bribed, and they figured they were being bribed because there was no inherent worth in the activity. And that's pretty incredible that these little babies really could figure that out. And there's a name for this. It's called the over-justification phenomenon. So what we want to be very careful of, because these are very young children, and we want to introduce them to golf, hopefully for a lifetime, and have to be really careful about keeping them excited about it and not turning them off from it. So that intrinsic part when they're very young is important. The N stands for nutrition, and there's a strong nutrition component to the program. And it's certainly about the eating. It's certainly looking at the very frightening statistics on obesity. 1 in 3 children now is obese, on the juvenile diabetes. But, I could go on, and so many of these things that are diet-related. We're very careful about that, not just so there's always a SNAG component in the program, not just to have healthy food, but to explain why food is healthy. But even more than that, Ted, what we do, so we're trying to teach children intrapersonal skills, things they learn inside themselves, and interpersonal skills. And the food time is very much a time to socialize. And I think so many of us, so many parents, are really very upset about this because in our society we've just lost this. We're all too busy. And the whole notion of sitting down and spending time together at mealtime is sort of a thing of the past, and we all wish we had that. So we put that into the program and make this whole idea of food and coming together one where you socialize. We're very careful not to do things like reward with food. Try to teach young children about when they are full, what does full feel like, and, when to stop eating, not to push food on children, to make sure it's healthy. So that's a big part of the program. That's the end.
It's interesting because you mentioned, Patricia, a few moments ago about the sort of the academic side of things, sorry, I think that was Nicole. And you're right that a lot of the teaching nowadays seems to be funneling towards the academia. And the problem with that is, kids are losing the ability to really understand it and be able to play and just, have some fun. And it's all, study, and it's all very intense. And if you look at most of the kids, I think this is why a lot of them are detracting away and sort of losing themselves in social media, because they're not doing anything that's having fun anymore. It's just, constant. So I like the approach that the two of you have taken with this program, and the fact that obviously that you've added golf being the main component to it to get them involved at an early age. But I like that the way that you've sort of wrapped this up and are approaching things, of learning, if you will, from a different approach than what has been traditional for many decades now.
Well, that's great to hear that affirmation, Ted, and, certainly we agree. And, some people have even said to us that they kind of look at the program and what we're doing with it almost as an antidote for all these difficult things with being a child, with, not having time, not having often a place to play, to run around, due to safety issues or whatever. But to have time, genuine time with other people. There are no screens. In fact, a lot of people are often surprised that the American Academy of Pediatrics, and we follow their standards quite strictly in terms of safety and guidelines, they recommend ages 0 to 2 should be no screen time at all. Ages 2 to 5, 1 hour maximum per day. And that includes just if a TV or somebody's phone is kind of in the corner of their eye, that counts. Right. So yeah, you're right. It's we're doing something very different from that.
And Ted, I think seeing it from the golf perspective too. I see kids have lost a lot of the imaginative. It's like, all right, once you go and play and make a game, and they look at you like, well, what am I supposed to do? And it's like the time that they don't have the ability as much to just spontaneously create. So it's really nice to be able to see them do those things, or give them different equipment and see what they come up with. But even watching parents or adults working with the youngsters on the range, I think sometimes they've forgotten how it's from kid style that they're learning. So we're looking at the children from adult rational brains, and they're looking at it from the kid play, and telling a 3-year-old to stay focused and keep their eye on the ball, or to keep the arm straight, or this and that. They're not quite into that ability yet. So that was one of the reasons I wrote my book, was to of course do some rhymes and some fun things, but it's really important to do this kid style. And what is it? What's fun for a kid might not be fun for an adult, and attention spans are so different. So it's just hopefully reminding people about what would be fun for kids. Lots of color, lots of sometimes messy and not so structured. And so I learn a lot as I go through with the kids. What I think is fun or organized, it gets turned the other way. So it's pretty cool as a pro to learn that.
Well, I can attest, being a little bit older, that it's certainly not as much fun as an adult as it was when I was a kid. So I can agree with that wholeheartedly. The other thing too, ladies, that I find with, and I don't want to get into too much on this end of it, because there's other things I want to make sure we cover. But I see it even in some of the adults that I teach now. I mean, I do a lot of corporate training and stuff, but they want these sort of quick fixes, and they're not really enjoying the process. It's all about, well, can I fix this, and can you do that?
Right.
And they want it, it's almost like instant gratification. And,
right.
There's no sort of learning as you go and develop as you go sort of principles. It's all, okay, I want it now, and I want to be able to, play in my event next week and have this magic formula. It just doesn't exist. And I think, when I was growing up, you didn't have that. Now, for some reason, just because the way society has gone, and it's unfortunately it's filtered into much of the golf industry, and this is something that they're trying to unravel now. Technology is certainly great, but there's a sort of a happy marriage, if you will, of technology and then core fundamentals now. I mentioned earlier about the PGA Merchandising Show as well. Tell us a little bit about that, Patricia, if you want to start off. You launched this year at 2016 PGA Merchandising Show in Orlando. What was some of the response and feedback that you guys got?
Well, we started a few days before the show at the Youth and Family Summit that the PGO had, and Nicole and I did a presentation there. So that was terrific. We got to meet and get feedback from a lot of the golf professionals that were there, really from all over the world, and it was great. People were excited about it, wanted to know more, and we had time to sit down, speak to them, learn what they were doing in their programs, which is always exciting to see what's going on out there in different places and different countries. And then the show started, and again, the Littlest Golfer, we have to thank. They were very kind and let us have a space in their booth. So we had time to speak to the people on the floor. We also had a media conference and had a lot of media people show up.
Wow.
And had a really good give and take. It's always interesting to get the questions and see, what people are asking about. And, yeah, overall, it was just terrific.
Fantastic.
Lots of good feedback.
And Nicole, I want you to talk a little bit about, because you guys have mentioned that there's a certification program. From an instructor standpoint, you can't teach everybody the same way regardless of age, but particularly with the youngsters at the age level that you're dealing with here, you have to be very careful, and I would assume in the selection process, because, again, everybody teaches different teaching styles, things like that. There's a specific way that you need to address the things that you need to address in your program. So what are some of the things that you're looking for in instructors or coaches? And give us a little bit of background on the certification program, what's involved.
Sure. There's so many things I could say, so I'll streamline it. But, there are already coaches out there who are working with youngsters, and we're seeing them start to come through the program. They're comfortable with the age group, and they're learning a little bit more. And we're hoping that, of course, there are people that, really want to get this into the program, and they don't know how to do that. They may not be as comfortable with the age group. So, if it's not them that's going to be comfortable, maybe somebody at the facility that they can have aboard the team to do this. So it's not for everyone, but hopefully in the facility there's somebody who can help out. And, the process of learning, I learned a lot going through what Patricia put on there for our certification. So me as a golf professional, I've done a lot of learning as I go, and the research part behind this was so cool. So great job, Patricia. And I know you're always looking to update, and we're going to add some modules as we go. But there's four main parts that we're teaching people about, and then they have to go through the questions. The online certification is reading right now. We may add some video in the future as we grow. But you read, you take some questions, and it's multiple choice. So you can't go to the next one until you get it right. It's just a fun way to learn. So, and then at the end, of course, there's the big test. So you're going through interactive quizzes through the four parts that we discussed. So I learned a lot about, the theory behind it, how to deal with behavior. That's always interesting to me, just, how to help a child kind of go through what they're going through in the most effective way to also run a class. How do you manage a class when you have 8 children, and 7 of them are hanging in there pretty well, and 1, needs more attention. So those are kind of the questions as a golf pro that I was very interested in from Patricia. So she has a lot of great ideas in the curricula. We talk about the nutrition. We added a little bit of the golf module in, and we're going to be adding more in. So the certification is a golf professional or a coach, somebody interested would sign up online. The cost is $695, but right now the first 50 people who sign up, there's a code we offer for $300 off. So it's half off right now. And then they would actually go through a background check. So once we get a clearance from a person through the company that we're using, then they have the access to the online curricula. They can take that at their own leisure. So, we recommend within, probably 4 to 6 weeks. Some people do it a lot quicker. And then from there, once they're certified and everything's good to go, then they have access to the curricula. They can use that any way they'd like. We offer it in a 1, a 3, a 5, and a 12-day format, and it can be adapted. If it's a 4-day school or 6, that's cool. But everything is spelled out. We've spent hundreds of hours on the curricula and modifying it, and it's written down to, here's the equipment you need for this day. Here's a picture of it. Here's how you speak it. So, of course, if you have your own way of saying it, cool. But, we tie everything in with our character theme. So the golf swing is going to be looking like an elephant's trunk. So it swings back and forth. And as we get into the older group, we do 1, 2, show your shoe as a fun little addendum. But we do a little bit with Tempo Tiger in putting and short game, the tick-tock, swing the clock, and his tail is kind of the metronome. So we tie in a lot of fun images there. So, but basically, you sign up, go through the background check, go through the online certification, very cool, and then you get your kits. We have a banner for you. There's a lot of cool things you get, and it's listed on the website what the benefits are. So, and as we grow and add modules and, work with our recertifications, then, we'll grow and learn as we go.
Fantastic. I just listening to you, Nicole, I can think of quite a number of adults that could probably use a program like this to learn their golf swing. I guess the reason why, when you look through a child's eyes, it is so much. Life is so much simpler, and I think, and I'm sort of, I guess, paraphrasing here, but as a golf professional, I think one of the problems that we see, as I was mentioning earlier, as adults that are trying to learn and pick up the game, is they overcomplicate things. Where kids will really sometimes take the most simple route. They're like sponges. They'll learn very quickly. You'll show them something, you'll explain something, and they seem to gravitate. But as we get older, we tend to throw in a few other, everything but the kitchen sink when we try to learn sometimes. Right. And I think what ultimately ends up happening is, a lot of golfers make it more difficult. So I like the fact that you're getting them really at a grassroots level. I mean, you're getting them virtually almost out of diapers and getting them exposed to a sport really that I think teaches a lot of very valuable life lessons. So I like the concept of the little golf train that you two have put together, and I like the format, and I like the fact that you're making it available. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask, and I've asked you this, I think, before, Nicole, with respect to Littlest Golfer, you've got the parent component. Obviously, you're dealing with some very young toddlers. How do you prevent, or are the parents involved through some of this program at all? What role do they play, if any, or do you try to keep them, distance so that you can do what you need to do to be effective? What sort of role, if any, do they play, or don't they?
Well, I think that's a great question, and the facilities will be running the programs based on what works for them. What I find through what we've done at the Landings Club, with ages 2 to 3, I highly recommend having one parent or grandparent there per child. So they are part of the learning, and I think that's really important. I know U.S. Kids likes to do that as well. I love their concept, having the parents involved so they can understand what's going on as well. So I like to have one parent there per child, and they help out. So that way I may have, 8 2 to 3-year-olds and 8 parents there, and they're hearing the terminology, and I'm reminding them that, we're just using TikTok, swing the clock, or, here's what we're working on with the grip, like our thummies point to the grass, but honestly, I have some right now that just want to do it one-handed, and they use the back of the glove, or they push the ball into the hole, or they pick it up and they squat down in the hole. and just reminding the parents that they're 2 and 3, and I want them to be able to self-discover. And you mentioned this earlier about, people forgetting they want the fix right now, and the self-discovery part has kind of gone out the window. So I think it's important for them to self-discover. And as I get more into this myself and learn that the structure's doesn't have to be 2 hands on the club all the time. It can be fun. So with the 4 to 5-year-olds, I like to do a 5-to-1 student-teacher ratio and have at least one parent there as a volunteer coach, so assistant coach. And so they're helping with the safety, and they're helping with the cheering and the reminders. So, we'll sometimes have an area for parents to watch and to fill them in. I like to do emails at the end of each week just telling the parents what we're doing. So keeping them in the loop, I think, is important. And I know some other pros who like to do that as well. So I think that's a big thing.
As Nicole points out, I just wanted to say the program really is designed for the parents to learn also. So with the very young children, they're going to be with the children a lot more than the golf professional is. So it's good for them to be around this and to hear this and to hopefully replicate what's happening in the program. And it's true, this whole notion of how a child, being a child, is so able to just be in the moment, to not worry about the outcome. And as you were saying before, Ted, as we get older, we become so outcome-oriented.
Right. Yeah.
And it's very hard to let go of that. And that's something very new for a lot of people that go through this program. And, as Nicole said, she's so great about recognizing, the use of a child's imagination and their self-discovery. That's so important. And to praise the process, not the outcome. So when a child's making that swing just like eager elephants, that's great. And if they hit the ball or they don't, that's beside the point. And that's a very different way of responding and thinking.
Well said.
That's a challenge, not just for the parents, but for teachers too. I mean, you work with people and everybody, as you say, these adults, it's all about the outcome. It's the result.
Right.
And that actually doesn't help at all. If we could all, like you said earlier, get back into the mind of a child, we'd be a lot better off in our golf game.
One of the things that, ladies, that really appeals to me about what you're doing is up and really until I would say maybe the last decade, one of the things that kind of turned me off a little bit about junior golf was that it was all sort of a funnel or feeding into the tour life, if you will. And I don't necessarily mean PGA, but it was all about competitive golf. If you look at most of the junior programs, whether it be around the U.S. or even abroad, it's all about let's get my kid into this program. And I know that you've seen it, Nicole, particularly. I know you've sure have seen it out there where these kids that are 3, 4, 5 years old, they're regimented to the point because they want their parents want them to be the next whoever it happens to be, and these poor kids are really not even enjoying it and become very robotic in their approach to the game. And I think that you see certainly some will gravitate on and whether they make it on the tour life or not is not really the issue. They'll have some sort of enjoyment, but there's a lot of them that actually get out of playing golf as they get older because it's structured so much it becomes too hard. And I think what I like about the little golf train is that you're taking them at their simplest time in their life, allowing them to have fun and associate fun with golf. And then at some point later on, as they've developed a general understanding, because you're not trying to develop the next PGA or LPGA player. You're really just trying to expose them to the game. And ultimately, what's going to happen? Right. And ultimately, what's going to happen from here is those that maybe say, "Hey, I would like to take this to another step," will have that opportunity. They've had the exposure that you've given them, but they're not going to feel pressured the same way. And this is why I asked about the parents, because we all know this. We've seen them 1,000 times. You go to some of the top schools, even in Florida, and you see these youngsters, and I'm talking even teenage kids as well, that are just up at the crack of dawn, and they're not going to bed until late in the hours, and they're just constantly bombarded with golf vernacular, and it gets to a point where they're just not having fun.
Well, that's totally outcome-based, too, and it's,
right.
I mean, why would a parent put a child in a Montessori school, because of all the wonderful things that they're going to be learning and how they're learning it. So it's almost like this program is, it's like that kind of a program, but it's being done through golf. So it's definitely not outcome-based. And, just when we see a child who's 3 or 4 and they have great hand-eye skill at that age, and, the parents' eyes light up and you can see them thinking scholarship or whatnot. And I'm like, well, it's great that he can do this. This is just one component of what we're working towards, So let's see how he can express himself in what we're doing with art or Play-Doh or, because some of them get really stuck and that's all they want to do is, and their parents are, they might be proud that their child could hit, a whole basket of balls in an hour and that's all they want to do. And it's nice to have that attention, but we're still looking to help them, remind them that there's other things that they can developmentally explore, and there are other things they need to developmentally explore to be healthy at that age, all around, like holistically.
Right, I agree wholeheartedly, and I guess my point is this, ladies, is it's wonderful if 1 out of 1,000 of the kids that go through this program, or even 1 out of 100, has aspirations of playing golf on a competitive level. But ultimately, I think in order to truly grow this game, I mean, Nicole and Patricia, I know that you both heard this expression, how do we grow the game? But the focus seems to be how do we grow the game into a competitive. But I think that the golf industry should be looking and expanding it and saying, how can we bring more people into the enjoyment of golf, not just necessarily on a competitive, but just to go out and have fun, whether it be with friends or family or, a spouse or whatever, and not just always about competitive. I mean, we want that as well, but you also have to have just people. And I think if they did it from that approach a little bit more and not just having all of these different programs that are sort of a funnel into competitive golf, I think more and more, because not everybody's going to have the skill set to be able to make it, whether it be on tour or even at collegiate level. So right away, you've sort of, again, that outcome mentality is, well, I'm never going to be good enough to make Division I, women's golf team, so why should I even bother? And they just give up. So what you're really trying, I mean, what I'm talking about, Nicole. And I'm not trying to bash the programs. There's a lot of fantastic programs, but not everybody that's going to go through your program is necessarily going to want that end result. They just want to go out and just have fun, and that's what you're trying to do here. At the same time, teach them some skills. And
there's a lot of research on early burnout too, and the kids who that excel early, later when the other kids catch up and they get surpassed, they burn out. And there's a lot of other sports out there that are offering this, offering their programs to very young kids, and golf is just not traditionally been in that group. I mean, there's some places that still don't allow children on the range until they're 6 or 8. So they're going to go to other sports, soccer or skiing, ski school. So it's an opportunity to give them an example of what golf is about. It's an introduction. It is not a hardcore training program. It's a program for kids based on kids.
Right, exactly. Again, well said. I just think that the way that I look at it is I certainly want to do whatever I can to help grow the game. And, if somebody has those aspirations of going on and playing at a high level, I mean, all the power to them. But I just want, people to just go out and have fun. And if they play once a week, once a month, or 5 times a week, that's entirely up to them, whatever motivates them. But if you push something on somebody too much, as you said, they get burned out, and then they just sort of shy away from the game. And, if you're lucky, 20, 30 years later, they might pick it up again, but now they're coming at it from a different, it's a negative experience they had, 20, 30 years ago. Now they're coming back, and it's much harder to be able to grasp some of the fundamentals because they haven't picked up a golf club in 30-odd years. So,
and we're hoping through this program that, yes, that children will have this early, positive, fun association with golf. You're right. Instead of this, you've got to be on the tour. That's why people play golf, to have this super success that maybe yes, but probably not. But golf can be so much more, and it can be something fun. And we're hoping, yes, that it will expand the game by, tapping into this young age group that really hasn't been tapped into before.
Yep.
And helping that expand the game and having kids out there just enjoying the game, playing with their families. So this, hopefully will have very positive effects on the growth of the industry.
Well, what's the definition of success too, right, Patricia? I mean, is it an adult version of this is what success looks like? So there's a lot of different ways to enjoy the game, and I think that's important to, what's the child's definition of success, so.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, is, as you both pointed out, the family. I mean, the family unit, parents, there's so much other things out there to compete for their kids' attention. And, wherever the kids go, the parents are going to follow. So if the kids are involved in, whether it be soccer or football or baseball or some other extracurricular activity, the parents more often than not are going to be involved in that. So the golf industry, Nicole, as you had mentioned too, has kind of fallen or had fallen behind a little bit, or didn't get out of the gate as quickly as other sports or other activities. So this is a great way, again, because if the kids sort of get a bite at the apple and say, hey, this looks like a lot of fun, and they want to engage, even if it's, again, not, at an overly competitive, but just something that they want to do, here's an opportunity now as a family when they go on a vacation. If the kids are interested in going, even if it's just to go to an executive course somewhere or just to a driving range or what have you, now as a family they can do something. And particularly for mothers out there that are trying to find a way to keep their kids entertained, your program gives them another option, and it can be a very inexpensive option if it's handled correctly.
And some of the positive feedback we've gotten back is that this is a program that's not exclusively done at golf courses. It can certainly be done on golf ranges. It can be done at daycare centers. It can be done at preschools. We have people that are getting certified that are at a children's museum. I have somebody interested in this who's at a military base who said that this would just be perfect for veterans that come home that are reconnecting with their families, to have, a program where they're all together to do something positive together that will hopefully grow into a family activity. So that's been very exciting to sort of see the tentacles and how this can help in many different areas.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's been, and Nicole, you may agree with me here, I think there really has been a void in golf that really has needed to be filled, and I think the two of you have really created an opportunity to fill that void. And as I said, there's a lot of great junior programs out there. I'm not knocking any of them, but they've all been sort of outcome based. And as you mentioned earlier, Kate up in New York, and there are others, of course, that are that are doing something. But I think you have created a platform that will allow other instructors to sort of, again, here's that pun, but jump on board the little golf train and, get certified and be able to, better understand how to attack, if you will, this market and train this market in such a way that will not only benefit the kids, but also benefit golf in general and the instruction side of things. And I think there's been a disconnect, right?
Well, yeah, and the thing is, once they're certified, they can run with this program. They can have it going as many times as they want. I mean, this could be a very, very big part of their revenue. So it's, and it's really easy. It really is. I mean, the certification, we've tried to make fun. It doesn't take that long. And once they have the manual, it is all done for the person. It's just, they just read through it. It's what they say, what the children do, what equipment you need. If they need the equipment, they can purchase it. If they don't need it, then that's fine too. So we've really tried to make it very easy, providing this turnkey program for the instructor.
Is this something, and again, maybe not right at this stage because it's still fairly early on and you're still doing some developing as you go along, but as this sort of, blossoms into what you envision it being, do you see this, and Patricia, you just mentioned about not necessarily having to have it at the golf course or even the driving range, but can you see this sort of migrating into an elementary school curriculum, perhaps, if approached the right way?
Well, it's ages 2 to 5, so it would probably be kindergarten. But certainly.
Yeah, sorry,
absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say elementary.
And in places like New York now, where public education starts pre-K, yes, absolutely. I think teachers would welcome it.
Well, I just think it's a great key, if you will, a great vessel to introduce it to the school system, because, teachers are looking for ways, and again, as we all know, golf is really mimics life in so many ways, and until you understand that and have been exposed to it, you don't really understand it. And I think that what I can envision this program doing is on one part, it's great for the instructors and the coaches out there, but I can also see with the right approach, I can even see teachers that are properly, vetted and trained in that, can somehow wean this into the school system. And, golf has really been looking for a way to get in other than just at the collegiate level or even the high school level. But if we can find, again, you want to talk about growing the game, getting in at that level and at a very basic level, I could really see this thing, again, if handled correctly, could really take off and become a national, part of a national program.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the people that we met at the PGA show is a golf professional from Kenya. And I'm sure there's sort of intimated there are a lot of bureaucratic hurdles, but he's trying to make it part of, they have Montessori school, after-school programs, and he's trying to get it to be part of that, which would, be a wonderful thing.
Well, and that's what I mean, whether it be an after-school program and what have you, but I could see that getting into the main school systems at some point.
Even as part of it, integrated into the curriculum, absolutely.
I mean, if you look, exactly, because if you look at really many other sports, some, what I mentioned earlier, really have that sort of integration already. So golf is another, game, sport, however you want to phrase it, that really has not sort of broken through that lining yet. And I think this, with what you're talking about here with the little golf train, I think this is a great opportunity to introduce it at its at that level. And, I could see it growing and growing from that point. So kudos to both of you for coming up with this and putting this together. Nicole, do you want to just let everybody know, for those parents that might be interested in having their kids involved, where they can go to learn information, and for those coaches and instructors that are tuning into the program tonight, where can they go to get more information and find out how to become involved in the certification program?
Yeah, definitely great question. Our main website, www.littlegolftrain.com, has quite a lot of information on it, how to get certified, and when you're ready, there's a link that you click on, and parents will be able to check that out as well. We're going to be updating some of our certified conductors who are on board. I want to give a shout-out to Leanne Alba, Michelle Holmes, Valerie Moore, Tim Meischer, our first international in Switzerland, and Stacy Miller-Arndt. So that would be the place to go, littlegolftrain.com. And we're using a code for the half off at the moment. So for the first 50 who apply, it is CODE in capital and then no space 300, code 300. So that's what you'd put in there at the registration. So, and if you leave a message through there, Patricia will get that. We'll respond to you, and happy to answer questions.
Perfect.
We also
and I think
have a store on our website with some really cute little merchandise, some baby blankets, some little golf shirts, little golf hats. And you don't have to be certified to purchase those, so that's there too.
Perfect. I like that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nicole, wasn't Valerie Moore one of the first ones to jump on this when it got launched?
Yes, she was. It was pretty exciting. We had a lot of good comments, and people who are really excited to get started at the show. So, and what she's creating there with Mobile More Golf, it's going to be really cool. So we're hoping it helps people to find the niche in their area, for their facility or for themselves. And, we're very proud of them. So looking forward to getting things really going. So.
Yeah, Valerie actually reached out to me just after I guess you guys had conversations with her, and she was very, very excited about it, and she's a great lady, and I know she'll do very well with the program. I want to congratulate both of you once again for really putting this together, a little golf train, and I hope that Nicole and Patricia, that you'll keep me updated as things develop. I'll be more than happy to do whatever I can, and Nicole, all you have to do is just reach out anytime you want to come on the show and talk about this. And keep I do get the media releases as it's coming into my inbox all the time, so that's fantastic. So keep doing that. But if you need to come on, if there's something that you want to promote or something specific that you need to discuss, Nicole, you just need to reach out, and I'll open my doors very welcomely to accommodate the two of you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ted. We really appreciate it.
Not a problem. I want to thank the two of you for joining me on the Coach's Corner and talking about Little Golf Train. And on one final note, Nicole, please tell Ty that I'm going to keep working on him. I'm going to get him on the show.
I know. I understand.
If I have to bribe him, I'm going to get him on the show one night. But if he's listening,
he's a little shy.
Yeah, I know. If you're listening, Ty, not a problem. I'd love to have you come on when and if you're ready, but keep doing the great work that you're doing, and kudos to you. Thank you, ladies, very much for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live on the Coach's Corner panel. I enjoyed our discussion, and I've learned a little bit, and as I said, I will always do whatever I can to help grow this game, and particularly in the area that you're talking about. So keep up the good work, and please sincerely keep me posted.
Thank you so much.
We'll do that.
All right.
I really appreciate it.
All right, you're very welcome. All right, thanks, ladies.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right,
bye.
Now. Okay, that was my my special guests, Nicole Weller and Dr. Patricia Donnelly, talking about, of course, the Little Golf Train. And it is a great program. LittleGolfTrain.com is the website link. So if you want to go there, if you're somebody in the golf profession, you're interested in learning more about what the program entails and what's involved, I would strongly suggest you go. I really do, and I mean this sincerely, for those of you tuning into the program, I mean this sincerely, that I think it is a great program, a great way to introduce our youth to the golf game. And, I certainly meant no disrespect earlier when I said that, with some of the other programs out there, those programs have a place as well. But I think that we have to sometimes take things at its most basic level first. In other words, you can't put the cart before the horse. So let's expose these youngsters to golf. Let them have fun, get out there, enjoy it, and let sort of nature take its course. Whether or not they want to develop, into the next Annika Sorenstam or Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy or whoever it happens to be. Let's not sort of push and prod them into a direction. If they express that interest, then by all means, you need to be supportive, but let them take the lead and not the other way around. Let me just a quick note. I'm just waiting for my next guest. I'm going to be joined here by two great golf professionals, of course, Alan and Cindy Miller, a great couple. Cindy, of course, as most of you know, co-hosts with me on the morning shows on Tuesday, Women of Golf Show. And we have some great members of the LPGA and Symetra Tours, as well as some other great golf industry types that have come on the show. And we enjoy doing that. It's every Tuesday mornings on blogtalkradio.com from 9 to 10 Eastern Standard Time and 9 to 10 a.m., Eastern Standard Time. And that's at blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf. So make sure that you go and tune into that program as well on Tuesdays. We're live, of course, from 9 to 10 Eastern. My next guests, of course, have been around golf for a very, very long time. I'm going to introduce, of course, Alan Miller here first. He's a PGA professional, PGA Tour Past-Champion, a life member, of course. He finished 8th as a U.S. Amateur in 1968 and earned an exemption into 1969 Masters. And at the time he played a pretty big hook, as he indicates here, but he knew that if he wanted to get better and not play in fear for the rest of his life, he needed to make some changes. And it was after that U.S. Amateur that Allen found Bob Toski, and Bob and Allen changed his golf swing entirely. And over the next 2 years, Allen was ranked the number 1 and 2 amateur in the United States. He went on to become a PGA Tour winner and life member, and is still considered to be the second purest ball striker Dave Pels has ever tested. And his lovely wife, of course, as I mentioned, Cindy, who co-hosts the Women of Golf show with me every Tuesday morning on Blog Talk Radio. She is an LPGA professional and also plays on the Legends Tour when she has some time. She's a graduate of the University of Miami, where she began as a walk-on and gained All-American status her senior year as a Division I women's golf team. She served as the team captain, in fact, and helped her team win the NCAA National Championships back in 1977 and 1978. She's a veteran of 5 U.S. Women's Opens, and she is a former LPGA Tour player and presently a Class A LPGA professional. Currently, she plays on the Legends Tour, which is, of course, as you know, the official senior tour for the LPGA, and sits within the top 30 of the career money list. She competes with such LPGA Tour stars as Nancy Lopez, Pat Bradley, and Jan Stevenson. And many of you might remember her back in 2005, I believe it was, when she was on the Golf Channel's hit reality series, The Big Break 3, which was ladies only, where she did extremely well. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, and we're going to talk just a little bit as I spend an evening with the Millers. Let me welcome them aboard.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm spending an evening with the Millers, and I'm very excited to have the two of you here. Thank you for joining me and for agreeing to come on together. Cindy, I know you and I... Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Alan. Cindy, I know that you and I get to work together, if you will, for an hour every Tuesday morning. So we get a chance to chat a little bit before and get to chat some golf, of course, during the program. But I wanted to talk. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity because, Cindy, you and I have been doing your online, the Own Your Game Academy here for the last few weeks, and I wanted to really give you an opportunity to talk about that in a little bit more depth and detail. How did you sort of come up with that? Why? What was the purpose behind it? And let's talk about some of the successes that you've had with the Own Your Game Academy.
Well, I think it was a selfish reason that I came up with the idea, because when I heard there was a Legends Tour for former LPGA Tour players, I needed to personally defeat a few demons myself, because I wanted to pull myself out of the closet and figure out what was wrong with me when I did play on the LPGA Tour. So I qualified to play, and I played for 3 years, but of the best in the world, I was one of the worst. And I lost my card the year that Alan and I got married, and the plan was to go back to qualifying school and try to qualify again. But I got pregnant a month after we got married, Kelly. So my plan was the same plan. So I never went back to play. And all these years we've been, teaching, and I caddied for Alan for a while, and then we started playing and started teaching. And I just really wanted to figure out what was wrong with me. So in the process of finding out my faults and my strengths and my weaknesses, it brought me all these things of, are you audio, visual, or kinesthetic? How do you learn? And what's your personality style? Alan and I are total opposites. Alan would be like Jason Dufner or Freddie Couple.
Right.
Pretty out. He's too slow food, and I'm like a wired maniac, kind of control freak. And well, I am. And so I try so hard, and I get for tournament, and it's like, okay, let's go. And you just can't try to win. So in the midst of me trying to fix me, I had to be willing to look in the mirror and figure out what was wrong with me. And when I did, I found, I'm not the only wacko in the bunch. And
right.
So I got certified as a personality stuff, the behavior, disc profile, because it really did help save our marriage. And the audio visual kinesthetic piece with all of our students, and we came up with an assessment that we went online. And then I went and got certified with both sites because, again, I wanted to find out what was wrong with me. And when I first took their assessment, Deborah Graham Hudson, John Stabler said, you rank better than 99% of the tour players, men and women, play on the tour right this minute. So, of course, my next question was, so what's wrong with me? If I'm so good at this, why do I not score better? And when I went to Texas, I found out because John has invented a thing called the mind meter. And, of course, my tension level is at an all-time high. And I have to learn how to relax so I can better hit a shot. So, the long answer to this question, but I basically came up with the Ocean Game Academy to solve things to people that come on our lesson team. They can't hit a shot. They try hard. They have no idea why they can't perform as fast as they can. And so the purpose of this is to help them see what else they need to fix to be able to play better.
Yeah, well said, and I think it's important, Cindy, that people understand sort of the history and the background of why. And I mean, I know you've discussed it on the morning show a number of times, and I'm glad that you did it here tonight. Alan, would you agree that a lot of golfers, especially today, are really struggling with their game? They're to the point of frustration. And do you think that with the approach that you're taking, you're trying to break through some of that frustration and help them to have more fun and enjoy the game, but at the same time figure out the real reason why they're not playing at the level that they could be through this academy?
Well, definitely. It's not just today. It was in that same light in my era also. It really hasn't changed. The only problem is that our society now is so much quick fix, and I want gratification 5 minutes ago instead of 2 weeks from now.
Right.
That's the way it has changed. We're a very impatient society now. In my day, like when I changed my whole game, I knew what I wanted to look like. I knew what kind of shot pattern I wanted to have. And I wanted to get rid of the hook, but I knew I had to have somebody help me do it. So I also knew that all he could do was guide me. It was going to be totally up to me to put that in effect. And part of the problem with teaching is twofold. People don't know how to take lessons or to get help. They just go to help and say, hope you push a button and I'll hit it better. Second of all, they don't take the responsibility that I have to do the work to get it done. They kind of want to blame it on the teacher. They want to blame it on circumstances, wherever it might be. So with the Own Your Game Academy idea is in fact you have to take responsibility for what the person you're getting help from is telling you to do, and you have to put it into effect. He can't put a magic wand in your head and make you a parachute. Now that comment I just made came out of Jack Nicholson's teacher's book, Jack Brown. Don't expect a teacher to put a wand in your head and make you a parachute. You have to be willing to work, suffer through ups and downs, and you can get better. But most people aren't willing to do that. It really hasn't changed much, but the way of teaching is not laying it on the student as much as saying, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, and I have the secret answer for you, and you get all this data down, we'll be okay. You got to be able to put it in effect. That's part of what the Own Your Game Academy is about. It's going to show you what to do, show you why you need to do it, and help you guys learning to do it. But you have to do the work and put your mindset to that and hopefully make them aware that nobody can just make you do it. You have to get better. You have to want to get better, and you have to follow a process.
How do you, let me ask... Let me ask the two of you this, and either one can answer, whoever wants to jump on this one. But how do you keep the instruction simple enough that you're not overwhelming the student with too much information? In other words, you're not bombarding them with too much information, but yet giving them enough information that they can then process and say, okay, yeah, I get that. I understand why I need to do that. How do you find that happy balance? Because that... And Cindy, I know both of you and Alan could probably attest to this. There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of great information out there, but there's also a lot of students that get bombarded with too much. In other words, the information is great for you and I and Alan and others in the profession, but sometimes if we transfer that onto the student, it can overwhelm them. How do you find that happy balance when working through your academy? without over,
Well, I personally believe that the golf swing is really a kind of simple maneuver if you understand what you're trying to do. You Jack Nicklaus said golf is complicated. It's not nearly as complicated as we all make it to be. And the data comes out, that's pretty much useless. That's just feedback after the effect. You can't teach the data. In fact, trying to teach a kid in school to the test. You got to teach them the information and let them learn the information, then they can pass the test. So I don't believe in a whole lot of data. The data comes from after the effect.
Right.
If you try to keep it as simple as possible, I have a whole basic process in my own head of what steps need to be taken. It's very simple process. And we all, all this stuff about you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, you got to do that. If you make a good swing, you'll be doing all that anyway. So rather than saying, A leads B leads C leads D leads to E, let's just say A B C D E and make it a flow pattern and learn a process that can have constant loops. I don't mean to explain, but you have a flow pattern. Go from process A to process B to process C to get the big picture rather than harping on all this stuff. Plus, when you use data, you're showing people all the things they do bad. You're not showing them what they can do good and keep improving on it. So I personally want to keep on a positive note, not a negative note. When you tell them all the things they need to work on and bad, they get overwhelmed with how bad they are, and they'll never get anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Is the ball is the evidence of what you've done with the club.
Right.
And so we really try to simplify it because it's on a track, man. I mean, we've got earned sports, we've got body tracks, we've got all the fun tools, but we only use them when we need to use them. We really see by, where's the ball going and why is it going there? And what do you do to make the ball go where it went? And it's amazing if you give them, again, if they know their audio, visual, or kinesthetic, I call that the dumb blonde way swing. So if you're an auditory learner, you might stand over it going da-dum, da-dum.
Yeah.
That's all you're thinking about is tempo rather than what angle is my left arm with my wrist at the top of my back. You can't think left brain and play golf. You've got to be right brain. So that's what I'm very much a tactician golfer. I mean, I can sit there and talk golf swing theory day in and day out with anybody in the world. I decided a long time ago not to do that because I don't really care about getting on the golf side to the top 100 people. Much as I care about helping somebody play better. So I can talk theory all day long to any of my counterparts when I play, so I know an awful lot about the golf swing. But it's only as good as you learn to use it, and if you overcomplicate it, you're not going to be able to learn to use it anyway. So I have a little saying that I use in my own teaching that there's a bridge between the United States and Canada up here called the Peace Bridge. And I say, if a guy told you to go jump off the Peace Bridge because it makes your life better, would you do it? And of course, the answer is, well, no, I wouldn't do it. I said, well, why not? They told you to do it. I said, well, I would question, why would it make my life better? What the answer might be? Well, we're going to catch you on the way down, so you're really not going to die, but it might make you overcome a fear. Well, that's one thing. But in reality, if you just jump off the bridge, you're going to die. So just because somebody tells you to do something, I wouldn't necessarily just do it. It has to follow physics, it has to make logical sense. And if it meets that criteria, then I will work on it. Well, most people don't even ask you the question, why do you want me to do that? So what's the basis behind it? They just say, well, my guy told me, other guy told me to do this. Well, does that mean he's right or wrong? I don't know. What's the basic foundation for that information? Well, he said my numbers were this and that on this track then. I said, that doesn't mean anything. Show me what he told you to do, or whoever it is, what they told you to do, and let's talk about why it may not be the easiest way to do something. That's my basic philosophy.
Right, and the other thing too that I think a lot of people, and again, I don't want to criticize the industry, but one of the dangers that I've seen, it's starting to change a little bit now, but for a while there, it seemed to be going where one size fits all type of teaching. In other words, they were trying to put everybody in the same box. And Cindy, as you talked about in the beginning, you're a much different style of player than what your husband Alan is, and vice versa. So, taking the four juniors that we had on the show this Tuesday, you had Alex, and then you had Emma, and I believe Annika and Tori. They're all different players, so you have to approach them individually and differently in your tactics and what you talk to them about. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Again, that becomes learning to know your student also. We deal with each one individually as a person. We still have a basic concept for a golf swing to be like the most efficient way to do it. But within teaching them and getting the message across, you have to deal with the person individually according to what their personality styles are, how they learn, all that stuff we talk about on the game.
Exactly. Well said. I want to just shift gears just a little bit, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more instruction. But I know both of you have played on a professional tour, throughout your career. I want to talk about some, just so that people understand, and we don't have to get into all the specific details of, we understand the generals and that, but I want you to explain, because it's competitive golf, sort of the ups and downs of life on tour. People sort of glamorize what they see on TV and they think, oh, it's great. But the reality is it's a lot of hard work, as both of you can attest to. So let's start with you, Alan, first, and then Cindy, I want you to talk about some of your experiences and how it's helped you to become a better instructor. And Alan, so you go ahead.
Yeah, well, and when I started playing the tour in 1971, obviously not everybody could afford to fly. There weren't that many flights you could get there. The tour was kind of spread out. Did a lot of driving. People don't. I was on the road 30 weeks a year because in those days to make a living and pay the travel expenses, whatever, you had to play a lot of weeks. A lot of tournaments. You had to take a lot of cuts because there wasn't that much money except the very top, but even the top didn't have that much money. So you had to play a lot of the events. Today, this kids come out guaranteed $100,000, $500,000 club company or whatever, and they could fly purchase private airplanes a lot of places, and they're making their whole basis on. If I play good in a tournament, a couple tournaments a year. If I have a couple second or third places, they're going to make $800,000 or $900,000 just 2 weeks. Where in my day, you had to be consistently towards the top, and that made it a lot different. So I was on the road all the time playing tournaments, and you change hotel rooms, you go to different cities every week. The first couple of years, it's special stuff. You don't know where to go, you don't know where to eat, you don't have any friends there. Over a period of time, you start making those things, acquaintances from different cities. But it was a lot harder in those days that way because you were on the road all the time. It was like 32 events a year. So you never had time off, really. You were constantly on the plan. And the first few years made it tough to play. And you learn to do it, you learn to deal with it. It's a whole lot different today than it was. Then being able to stay focused on working, playing, packing the car, getting the car, driving, getting time when you got there and all that stuff. You were tired by the time you got there. Then you had to get time to relax, rest, whatever. So it's a whole different lifestyle. Then, as far as playing in the game, you still have to be able to put yourself in the mode of just be in. And then one of the hardest parts is learn to be patient for 4 days. Now, unfortunately, in those days of amateur golf, I played a lot of amateur tournaments. There was 4 rounds also, which is a little different thing. We play a lot of amateur plays in. There was 4 days of amateur golf tournaments, and then back 4 days of playing then. But, learning to pace yourself is hard. It's all kind of a big picture. But it's not all glamorous. You talk about playing in different places. I went to Hawaii 15 times. The only thing I got to see in Hawaii was the airport, hotel room, the golf course, and back to the hotel room again. It's really not the glamour of doing all this.
No, that's true. No, and it was certainly a different time. And I've heard Jack and Arnie and some of the other greats of the game mention the very same thing. Very early on life on tour is much different than what it is today. Cindy, let me ask you. I mean, you've obviously played on the LPGA, and now when your schedule permits, you're able to play in some Legend Tour events and that. You've obviously had your share of ups and downs. What do you take away from your time playing on tour that you're able to articulate and then, move that into your teaching? What are you able to extrapolate, if you will, from what you've done, your experiences on competitive golf, to teaching? What's been able to take away from that?
Well, I think what I like most about golf is you never really arrive. So I am always trying to work on something to help me get better. So when I do events with domestic sport players, I'm going to be playing in one in May, and Bill Henderson, Ricky Rarick, and Ted Bradley, and those guys. We're going to play an event with the Professional Tour in Greenwood, South Carolina. And as you know, we have Professional Tour players on our show every Tuesday morning.
Right.
And whenever I do an event with them, and I have a corporate crowd with me, I will say to them, I'd like you to introduce yourself. I'd like to tell everybody where you're from, how long you've been on the tour, and what you're working on.
Yep.
And I do that because I want the amateurs that are with us to understand that even though these girls are on the LPGA Tour Past-Champion and they're really, really good, that they're still working on something.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like the most about the game of golf. And it's like kids, or even, some 80-year-old. I've got an 80-year-old woman coming in for a lesson next week. I want to get in front, and every once in a while I got to tell her, I said, look, Mark, you need to be grateful that you're even playing golf. There's a lot of people that don't take it this far. And, hitting a 20-yard target is not going to happen, but let's hit it a little more consistently. So it's the fact that you're always trying to do something and you're working on it and you're just trying to get better.
Yeah, I agree with that, and well said, both of you. The reason why I wanted to ask that question is, not that obviously everybody is going to jump out tomorrow and try to make it on the PGA or the LPGA Tour or what have you, but it's a big commitment to play competitive golf at whatever level, whether it be collegiate, on the tour, or even for their high school team. It's a big commitment, and it takes a lot of hard work. I want to ask the two of you this question, and again, you can flip for whoever wants to answer first, but obviously through your academy, it's not just about the golf swing and the mechanics. It's to help them navigate their way around the golf course. When you're doing that, what are some key things that you're trying to get your students to focus on so that they understand it's not just about getting on the right plane, it's not just about making solid contact all the time, although those are important things. It's about understanding how to think your way around the golf course. What do you do with your students to try to help them understand that aspect of it?
I think it's important my opinion is you have to stay focused on a simple process. You got to be able to decide what club to hit, what the lie is like, what the circumstances are, what the wind doing, what's the temperature, all that kind of stuff. Those are decisions you do before you pull out a club or you decide what club to hit. But once you get up over to hit a shot, you need to be able to put your mind at rest, just simple swing thoughts, and try to trust the process. The great interviewer Rory McIlroy at the British Open, when he won a couple of years ago, he said his only thing was he had to have two simple swing thoughts, not to worry about pre-resolve, not to worry about any circumstances for coming ahead. Just two simple swing thoughts to be able to do. Most people are so many things going through their heads. I also hate the term when somebody says I'm thinking too much. It may be thinking too much, but what are you thinking? It's not, are you thinking a positive swing thought? I've already made the decision what club to hit, and I have a positive swing thought, or am I thinking, don't hit it here, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this? You have to learn to overcome that, and again, that goes into personal responsibility. You have to put your mind in the right frame to be able to think, I'm going to have some positive thoughts, I'm going to miss shots, but if I miss a shot, where am I going to miss it to? Decisions made ahead, but if I know my swing well enough, then I can go ahead and play for that. So it's a fine line between, having swing thoughts, not too many swing thoughts. Most people, when they say that, aren't having any swing thoughts. They're totally thinking about the end result. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. So you have to learn to stay in a positive mode. And when you watch golf tournaments on TV and the caddies are mic'd up, listen to what the caddy says to a player after he's made a decision on what club to hit. Can you just say something like, all right, keep it smooth, or finish your release, or do this, something positive, whatever the player has been working on for the last week or 2 weeks or month, whatever. remind him at the last second to stay focused on what he knows he can do, not some deviant thought of don't hit it over here, don't do that. Those decisions are already made, and he reminds him at the last second. So you have to become your own caddy because most of us don't have caddies to remind us all that. So it takes that extra level. We have to take control of ourselves. All right, this is what I'm going to do, and that's all I'm going to think about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that well said. Cindy, let me ask you, I'm going to just tweak the question just a little bit because I want to get back sort of to the mental side of the game because I think that sort of falls in line with what we're talking about on our Tuesday show. Would you agree that one of your Achilles heels, if you will, one of the challenges that you faced when you were playing out on tour while you were navigating on the course was being able to quiet your mind down and focus on the things that you needed to? In other words, too much information was coming in, too many thoughts that maybe were not benefiting you at the time was one of the issues that you dealt with when you were out on tour?
Yeah, because I try too hard and I think too much. So what Allen has helped me do, and because I'm so wired, it's good to be hanging out with someone who's not.
Right.
Try to help me make strategy, play the golf course using my strength and avoiding my weakness. So he might play a practice round and say, okay, this is how you should play this hole. And if I make a strategy, which is what I need as a high D personality, which is a competitive control freak, I need to stick with that strategy no matter what the situation.
Right.
So, you might say, oh, you're coming down the stretch and, you got a 2-shot lead. Are you going to change your game plan? No. You can't change the game plan. And John Stabler has helped me with Deborah Graham with Golf Site to say, for a high D personality who's overly dominant, you are not going to go for it unless you've got at least a 50-50 chance of pulling the shot off.
Right.
And that helps. It's like, no, just back away, bite the bullet, take the hit when you need to, and just play smart, basically. And one of the things Allen said to me last year at the LPGA National Teaching Championship, which I've never even thought this thought. Again, it's so cool to hang out with somebody that's totally opposite of you. And he says, all you want to do is give yourself the opportunity. I go, what do you mean? Give yourself an opportunity to be putting for birdie. If you give yourself 15 or 16 opportunities for birdie, you're not going to shoot 80. And I'm like, wow, I never even thought of it. I'd like fire at the pin and let go and miss the green and bury the bunker and make double. And no, don't. Take a chill pill. You don't have to hit it by the hole. You just have to hit it on the green. So it's a mindset. As long as you're aware of yourself and you're willing to look in the mirror, then you can make decisions that will help you. And that'll help you play a lot.
Yeah, it's just like any other sport, take football games or whatever. If the football team gets way behind and early in the game, they still have to stick to their game plan. If they start going helter-skelter just trying to score points and do everything needed for their game plan, they're not going to score the points anyway. So they have to be patient enough to say, all right, I made a game plan for myself, for our team. I may be 21 points down in the first quarter. We've got to stick to our game plan and just execute. And if I do that, I have a good opportunity of making a comeback. Otherwise, I have no chance. Same if you're playing gambling in Vegas. You can't double up and try to catch up. You lose all your money. You have to know when to walk away or when to back down or when to say, okay, I'm just going to stay steady Eddie. I try to go double up catch up because you'll end up losing everything. So you got to have that plan game and know what your game style is and stick to it.
Right, exactly. Something that, and I've briefly mentioned this, I think, on our other program, Cindy, not certainly into any great detail, and I won't get into it tonight, but working with a lot of corporate types, they're always asking me, well, I don't know what to do. I get in this situation and I'm not sure. And I said, there are 4 things that I want you to think about on every hole, besides, obviously a smooth tempo and things like that, is I want them to number 1, think of position, where they want the golf ball to line up right from the very first tee. Then I want them to think about their approach when it's appropriate, recovery, and then scoring. So there's 4 factors that I always ask them to think about in every hole. So right from the very first tee, where do you want the ball to be from the very first tee shot? Because I see a lot of golfers, what they'll do is they'll get up to the very first tee. They have no idea where they want the ball to go. They think, well, in the middle of the fairway, well, or maybe the right side. They have no idea where they need to position that golf ball. So I want them to think about position, where they want to have that golf ball from the very first tee. And then secondly, I want them to think about their approach. Now that they've got a good position, now they want to approach the green if it's feasible. In other words, if they're too far away, don't go for it. So again, you might have to go back to position again. And then if the ball goes, into the right rough and it's not a good way to approach, then they might have to hit a recovery shot, and then ultimately, as they get on the green and they're going to score. And the reason why I simplify it to those 4 factors, and again, they're in different combinations depending on what hole you're playing, the length, and so forth. The reason why I do that is because too many people, and I'm sure both of you can attest to this, will step up to the very first tee and they have absolutely no idea what to do. They don't know where they want the ball to go. They have no idea, and they sort of swing for the fences. So how do you program your golfers to be able to think clearly right from the get-go? And Cindy, I'll let you go first.
Well, again, you have to say, well, first you got to be able to hit the ball, and then when you go to the golf course, you have to be able to use it, and you have to play within your own skill level. So we do exactly what you do. We just don't have words to say it. But how can I best play this hole with the game that I own? Right. And how should I maneuver myself? Because again, a lot of times I'll tell people, you hit the ball far enough, it's bogey every hole. And if maybe you don't want to hit driver, maybe you want to hit a 3 hybrid off the tee and get on the green in 1 over regulation, and 2 putt, you just shot 90, and the best score you've ever had before was 102.
Yeah.
So it depends on what they're looking for. If they're looking to score better, we can definitely help them with course management. Absolutely.
Right. Exactly.
I've never was never ever in the locker room on the PGA Tour in all my years, or as an amateur and before that, or at Augusta National, wherever it might be, sitting in the locker room after the tournament was over and hear a player come in. I could have won that tournament today, any second or third, if I could have just hit it 20 yards further off the tee all day long. But I do hear him say, I could have won that tournament if I'd have hit a couple more fairways, or I hadn't hit that drive on the 3rd and 4th hole out of bounds, or if I'd hit 2 or 3 more greens. I didn't have to hit it closer, just hit less bad shots. And the game of golf is not hitting more good shots, it's hitting less bad shots, minimizing how bad they are, and then allowing for them. So if they have a shot learning, swinging the club, how to have some kind of pattern of error, can they become a better player? Then it becomes easier to step up on a tee and say, okay, I've got a whole fairway. Even when I play, I don't try to hit a fairway or a spot in the fairway. If I hit a zone, I'm in good shape. So I'm always thinking about put it in play. I don't care how far it goes. Put it in play. Put it on the green. I don't care where the pin is. Put it on the green. Can I hit it in a 50-yard area rather than worrying about a 4-inch area?
Exactly.
And I think that's where people make the mistake, part of the mistake, and then do they have the skill level to be able to do that? And if they don't, if they're not quite that good, then what kind of hit it a little shorter and put it somewhere in play? Just give me some opportunities to keep it in play, and that's the way they're going to enjoy the game better and shoot better scores, to keep it in play first, rather than, as everything's advertised on TV, you're going to hit this club 10 yards further. So what if it's 10 yards further out of bounds?
You're exactly right, and I think we would all agree on that. The other thing too is, as I talked about a little bit earlier in the segment, one of the things that we see has happened over the years is trying to put everybody in that same box. Alan, excuse me, you knew from playing on the tour a number of years back, you saw players like Lee Trevino, Gary Player, Alan, so on and so forth. There's many of them. A few names escape me now, but they all had uniquely different swings. They had basically the same core fundamentals. They just might have arrived at the ball slightly differently than one another, but essentially they had the core fundamentals. How do you try to take the God-given talent that each of us have and then add some of the necessary components without having to reinvent the wheel. How do you find that happy balance in that aspect of the golf game?
Well, from what I believe in, that anybody can learn to hit it straight as long as they have the freedom to swing, they have their arms moving, their shoulders back and forth. The problem with teaching today is everybody's trying to teach everybody what the tour players do. Well, how many tour players do you have? And those are the ones that do have God-given talent. Okay, you can't teach somebody to swing like Jim Furyk or Lee Trevino, but you can take somebody and build them and develop them a solid, basic, simple golf swing as long as they have, don't have any physical limitations, to some degree. And if you can do that, but all the stuff that's being taught is basically tour player does this, and this is his data, and this is his number. Well, first of all, how many hours is somebody going to be able to work on that? Tour players like myself, or even the kids today, we're spending 8 or 9 hours a day working on our golf swings nonstop to some degree, whatever it might be, whether it's playing or practicing. We're thinking about what we're doing all the time. Most people don't have the time, so you can't teach somebody to become a tour player. So why teach them what tour players do? They say, this guy's got this data. He does this when he swings. Well, so what? That's fine and dandy for a tour player, but you got average Joe Blows, or what the basis of the game are all about is the average person. And we believe in trying to teach the simplest way to do it. And basically from our theory, in which our theory was taught to me by Bob Toski, who came from Ben Hogan, it's very simple, and anybody can learn to do it if they're willing to do it. But that said, it's not. Everybody's trying to teach what the tour players do, and you can't do that. I think that's what's hurt the game more than anything. Why people aren't having fun? They're trying to do everything to the method of a tour player, and tour players are different also. Not everybody swings the club on tour the same way. I can watch one person swing. There's some things I don't like about Jordan Spieth's player. Swing, but so what? He's a hell of a good player. He's learned to trust his own swing. And there's some things he's going to have to develop to become a better player within his own game. But you wouldn't go in and try to change him from everything he does. Or Jim Furyk, you wouldn't do that either. He's like, let's just work on being consistently back to what you can do the best. And I think we're missing out on that as the golf community is. Let's don't try to teach everybody the way a tour player plays because you can't do it anyway.
You're exactly right, Cindy. Let me ask you, and I know. We can't get into all of the meat and potatoes, if you will, and we certainly want people to tune in Tuesday mornings to hear it anyways. But give us sort of a general overview of the assessment process that you have put into your Own Your Game academies in order to, like, from step one. What are you looking for when a person comes to take the lessons with you or join the academy? What is it that you're first wanting to find out from them? And then where do you go? What's step two?
So I ask them a lot of questions. I ask them, you've never been before, and you can't use GPS, and you can't use your phone, and you have no idea where you're going. Would you want me to tell you how to get there? Would you want to read written directions, or would you want to look at a map? And they kind of look at me like, what? And I say, well, just tell me, how you would prefer to have me tell you how to get there. And they tell me, and then I ask them what they do for a living. And that's typically, so this is just a normal half-hour lesson, right? Somebody's not doing the Own Your Game Academy. And I ask them what they do for a living. And if they say, I had my last guy tonight is a IT security guy for a big bank here. So you're the money cop. Yeah. I said, so are you a number wizard? Yeah. Are you like things to be organized? Oh, my God, yeah, sometimes to a fault. So, again, because of all the work that we've done with guys a high C. So I look to see how he's dressed, see if he's got everything perfect. And I said, so I'm going to give you a system. So I already know that this guy's very organized, very detail-oriented. He wants a path. He wants a system. He's probably going to ask me 400 questions. And I say, you know what, I've got a little list here. He goes, oh, my God, I love lists.
Yeah.
So because it's very important for us to teach the student, instead of teach the student about us, it's about us teaching the student. So the process in the Own Your Game Academy goes even deeper, though. We make you take an online assessment, which is 25 questions to find out if you're audiovisual kinesthetic. The second thing that we make you do is the DISC survey, which is also online, and you get a 12-page report about yourself. And then the third thing we make you do online is the mental golf profile, which is another 20-page report on yourself to find out, are you dominant? Are you self-sufficient? Do you have trouble focusing on the golf course? So, again, we teach people anywhere from I just want to have fun to I want to play on the tour. So depending on what you're looking for and what your skill level is, we can go as high as you want. And a lot of times what we do is it's almost like a pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid is I just want to play for shits and giggles, and the top of it is I want to be as good as I can possibly be, and anywhere in between. So it just depends on the student.
It's important for us to know that, and it's important for them to know that, because in my life I found out later in my life after some problems that I was okay. I wasn't bad. I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, and we want the people that we teach to use their own personality to their strengths to become better players. Also, rather than being, you can't teach somebody to be Ben Hogan if their personality is like Lee Trevino. You can't make them play golf that way. You have to go with it, whatever their strengths are, and not to say, if you're a Lee Trevino type of personality, you need to learn to shut up. You need to learn how to calm that down a little bit. Same if you're Ben Hogan personality, you can't go out and start trying to be jumping around and being, Christina Kim on the golf course. You just need to learn that that's the way I am, and I'm not going to let other people affect me so much. And it's okay to be a perfectionist. I just can't be quite as perfectionist as I want to be. So you learn for yourself how to be a better you, which will help your golf game. But more importantly, it helps you be a better person and better in life. Right. And, Alan, I'm sure many have probably tried to shut Lee up over the years, and we're not very successful at it. So you're exactly right. When I played with him, and Chichi Rodriguez, an example, playing with him, when you first play with him, it bothers you because they never shut up. But after a while, you learn, what? The fans like it. He's that way. That's the way he is. I'm not going to change him, so I'm going to learn to deal with what he's like rather than get mad about him being that way. I'm going to learn to put up with it and how to deal with it and let him be what he is, and I'll be who I am, but not let it bother me. That becomes a big deal. Right, exactly. The last question I want to ask the both of you, and Alan, if you want to start first, where do you think that we hear this sort of buzz phrase for many years now, growing the game, and how do we grow the game? Give us an idea of in a perfect world, in your world, if you will, where you see, what direction do you think, in your opinion, golf needs to if it wants to grow the game, where it needs to grow, and how do we go about doing it? And then, Cindy, I want you to also add some thoughts to it. Well, I think there's some efforts being made right now. The play it forward idea is a great idea. I mean, I have people, I'm 67 years old, I have people my age come in and say, well, I play in the back tees and I can't get to the greens. I said, well, guess what? Move up to the ladies' tees if you have to. I play from the ladies' tees sometimes. I don't have the ego that says, well, I got to play from where I used to play. When I take my son to TPC in Jacksonville, he plays the tips where I used to play the tour tournament from. But now I'm up on the ladies' tees. It doesn't matter, but at least I'm hitting the same shots, types of shots into the greens that I hit into the greens 4 years ago. I think that makes a big difference. The idea of, as we said, not how far you hit it, how straight you hit it. Well, if you hit it down the fairway 150 yards 3 times in a row, you're going to be on a 450-yard par 4 and 3. You two-putt, you make a bogey, you shoot 90, rather than trying to hit the driver 280, and now you got to go out and find this ball that's lost in the woods. It takes you forever to play, so the pace of play is going to quicken up. And we have to make play a lot faster. People don't have the 4.5 or the 5.5 hours, 6 hour time to play golf, and that's hurt golf a lot. And what are the golf courses doing? They're making them longer. We're making them longer. Now we're making them more playable for the average player. I think that's going to help out a lot. But I think just in advertising, it's not how far you hit it, it's how straight you hit it. Let's get you around the golf course in 3 hours by hitting it straighter, not worrying about how far you hit it and take 6 hours to play. I think that kind of stuff can make a big difference. And unfortunately for the last 20 years, it's been this driver's going to hit it further. Yeah, but you're going to be further out of bounds. It's going to take longer to play. So it goes into my theory of how to play better, but at the same time, it's going to make the pace of play quick enough. They also got to make it more affordable, and the idea of being able to go out and play a three-hole loop type of golf course that costs you $10 instead of $150 to go play an 18-hole course can make play better and more affordable to the average guy. So I think that can make a big difference. Hopefully the powers to be will continue to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think, and Cindy, I want to add just a little bit to your answer, if you will. Do you think some of the other efforts, like you see a lot of different areas outside of traditional, what we would classify as traditional golf courses like Topgolf and some of these other things that are trying to break into different markets but still with a golf theme, do you see that on a long-term scale as getting new people to the game, or other efforts that you can think of that maybe would help? I mean, certainly that's going to help expose some, but obviously we know that we're competing with a mass market of all kinds of different activities out there, from social media to you name it. Golf is just one peg in the chain, if you will. But do you see other things that are happening right now in golf as being a positive influence, or other things that you can think of that would maybe help people to come back to the game?
I think we need to make it easier. I think that Topgolf is a great entertainment place.
Right.
I don't know how many people. I'm a member at Topgolf. We went.
Right.
We've been to, and I paid the fee to become a member. And I just got an email about teaching, and they have teaching pros at Topgolf to help kids and adults learn to play better. So I think it's great exposure. But I think there's only like 10 or 15 facilities, so needless to say, that's not going to change everything. But
right.
I think we need to make it easier, and I think that, get golf ready, that's great. I think all the kids things, the LPGA Girls Golf, I think the PGA Junior League, but again, the PGA Junior League, they're only at private clubs. So the first tee, I think we need to make the game easier, and I think it would be great to have, one of the places we teach has a 3-hole, 2 par 3s and a par 4,
yep.
little practice academy, if you will, and LPGA International has one of those. And that's great for taking new players out. I think if we had more of those 3 or 6-hole little courses, it would make it more affordable and less time constraint, and it would be easier for beginners to go learn to play.
It's also important for people to try to learn to go out and have more fun playing golf instead of trying to make it so serious, because, again, not everybody's going to be a tour player. And, again, it goes back to the teaching aspect. Everybody's trying to teach like a tour. You want to be like a tour player. Well, most people aren't going to be that way, so let's have some fun trying to learn something new, too. It's a challenge, and that's the greatest thing about golf. It's a personal challenge. And let's use it that way to have some fun doing it.
You're exactly right. Earlier in the program, I had 2 guests on, Dr. Patricia Donnelly and Nicole Weller, who, Cindy, you may be familiar with Nicole. And she's great. She teaches, obviously, the Littlest Golfer, and they just put together a program that was actually launched at this year's PGA show in Orlando called the Little Golf Train, and it's really focusing at the from the 2-year-olds up to, I think, 5, and then 6 to 12, I believe, is the second phase of it. But the idea is really to, again, Alan, what you just touched about, is to make it fun and not. And again, I said this earlier in the program. I'm not trying to knock many of the great junior programs out there, but a lot of them traditionally have been outcome based. In other words, they're filters for collegiate golf and eventually on the tour for those that qualify. And those are fantastic programs. They're definitely needed to be there. But I think the game itself has to be even simpler for some out there, just to go out and have fun. And whether you ever get out on the tour as you two have, or collegiate golf, or on the next big break, or whatever it is, if that's what you want to aspire to, that's fantastic. But a lot of people don't have those aspirations. They just want to go out and have fun. So we need to break it down, I think, in its simplest form. And so my question to both of you is this. There's a lot of great programs starting to come out, and I think the PGA, and I got to give kudos to the LPGA. I mean, they've done a phenomenal job with the girls golf and some of the other programs, and really have, in my opinion, have taken the lead. So here's my question. We want to get family to really work together and get kids with their parents and find activities through golf that we can get them out there and having fun together. Is this something that you're trying to do with the academy as well, as to get not just the juniors, but to get the adults out there just to have fun so that they can take that into sort of family activity as sort of another way of bonding, if you will?
Yeah, we have one kid that comes almost to every junior lesson we give, and his father brings him, and the only reason his father brings him is he wants him to have somebody he can play golf with later. So he wants him to have fun doing it. And we have a friend, our son has a friend that I've been giving lessons to. The dad's got a lot of potential, but he's a little way harder himself. He has the cutest little 2-year-old you've ever seen, and we see this a lot. And he comes in to hit balls, and his dad's really good with it. He's not trying to push him or anything else. He has a little club, and he hits balls. And I said to the dad one time, I say this to a lot of parents, you know what? They ask you, when can we teach him? When's the good time? Well, you don't teach a 2-year-old. You can't. They don't have any muscle control. You just. The kid wants to be. Really wants to be with you. He wants to be with his dad, or she wants to be with her mom. She wants to be with their mom and dad when they go have fun. If mom and dad are going to the range and getting all PO'd about how they're doing, the kids are going to learn the golf's not fun. Why should I go? So they for young kids like that, it's really, really important for them, like bonding. It's really important for them to have this quality time with their mom and dad. That, in turn, will grow the game as long as the moms and dads are aware that I just want the child to come with me. I'm not here to try to turn them into a tour player at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, but I'm going to show them that I can have fun playing the game. Then the kids learn it can be fun. Then it becomes a fun atmosphere. And I think that's really, really missing to a large degree because we're all so keyed on. I saw Tiger Woods on the TV show when he was 2 years old. Look where he is. So let's have the kids have some fun doing it, and the moms and dads have fun. And then it becomes a family affair, and I think that will parlay into growing the game a lot.
Yeah, exactly said. We're getting close to the end of the time, and I know you two probably need to go, but let me give you an opportunity just for some final thoughts. I'm going to let the ladies go first. So, Cindy, you go first with some final thoughts, a message that you want to get out to the audience. Talk about the Academy if you want. Let them know how they can get information on that, and maybe just some closing thoughts. And then, Alan, I'll let you wrap it up.
Well, I guess I would say that golf is a great game, that it teaches you a lot about yourself and about life, and that I believe that you should enjoy the opportunity you have to learn to play. Yes, it's frustrating, but it's well worth the effort. And if you are interested in anything with the Own Your Game Academy or any of our boot camps or anything, you are free to email me at cindy@cindymillergolf.com. It's cindy@cindymillergolf.com, and I thank you, Ted, for letting us be on the show.
Well, as always, it's an honor and a pleasure for me. I certainly enjoy the opportunity to interview some great guests, and I can't think of two better guests than you and your husband, Alan. And Alan, I'll let you have a closing thought, and then I'll wrap it up.
Well, my final thought is nothing more than the game of golf is just that. It's a game. It's like life. Life is one big game. It's not how the end result comes out. It's how we play the game as we're going along. And, as I get older, I look back and said, all I have to give people is my wisdom and knowledge as an older person. But as for the younger kids, learn to have fun trying to pursue something, pursue a dream, pursue a lifelong goal, whatever it might be. But it's not going to be life or death whether you succeed or not. What's going to be a lifelong dream should be to be successful in your attempts, okay? And if you give it every effort you can, personal responsibility, try your best, then you'll lead a good life and you'll be rewarded at the end. So I have one last saying that I use a lot is you are not what you shoot. So if you're giving it a good shot, it's not the end result that's important. It's the fact that you gave it every effort you could give within the time constraints you have to do it and the effort that you want to get to it.
Very well said. And just my final thought, Alan and Cindy, the one really great thing that I love about golf, other than, I enjoy it and it's fun and I love teaching as do you, is it's really a game unlike any other that you can play well into your golden years as I'm approaching very fast now myself. And, it's something that really you can, as a youngster, you can play, and as somebody, as you get up into your 70s and beyond, many people still playing this great game. Unlike a lot of other games out there, sometimes
I'm almost there.
No, don't kid yourself. You got a long way to go yet. But
I'm only 2
you know
years
what
from 70, so I'm almost there.
Well, you got many, many years left, and I want to thank the two of you for I want to thank the two of you for not only for coming on and spending some time with me tonight. I certainly enjoyed it, but for doing all of the great things that you have done and given to this game. And I know that you both have a lot of enjoyment yourselves of playing the game, but giving back to the game. And that's really what it's all about. So I want to thank you and say God bless to both of you, and much continued success with the Own Your Game Academy and just with life in general. And Cindy, I look forward to joining you again next Tuesday morning with the Women of Golf.
Thank you, Ted. Thanks for your time.
Have a great weekend.
Right.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Right. Yes, happy Easter as well. Thank you, and good night, guys.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that was my very special guests, Alan and Cindy Miller. Always enjoy listening to really what I consider to be two great individuals that have been part of this game for a number of years. Alan, of course, I've gotten to speak with now on a couple of occasions, once tonight, of course, and then on the Women of Golf show he came on as one of our earlier guests for Cindy and I. And I do mean this when I say this, but I enjoy having Cindy work with me on the women's program every Tuesday mornings. And it's just a joy and a real pleasure to have her as part of my team. And she just brings so much to the sport and just has such great enthusiasm. And I know that she gives it her best, not only for her own golf game, but when she's working with her students, young and old, that she just gives it her all. And I think that's really what it's all about. And that's why she continues to be as successful as she is. So, again, thank you very much to the Millers for spending an evening with me. And again, special thank you to Nicole Weller and Dr. Patricia Donnelly for joining me on a special Coach's Corner panel this morning. Remember to tune in every week, every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you out there for listening from all over the globe, for faithfully tuning into Golf Talk Live each and every week. I really do, as I say all the time, really do get a great amount of pleasure and enjoyment of having a number of highly talented coaches, teaching professionals, authors, and entrepreneurs stop by the show. And it's really through their participation and guest appearances that have helped to make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. And we're trying to do the same thing with the Women of Golf, Cindy and I, every Tuesday morning. So remember, Tuesday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com, the Women of Golf show with none other than myself and LPGA Professional Cindy Miller. And then here Thursday nights from 6 to 8 Central Standard Time, I go it alone, of course, on Golf Talk Live. Next week, I'm going to have another great Coach's Corner panel followed by another guest. And just a quick note, on April the 7th, which is the Thursday eve of the first major of 2016, the Masters, I'm going to be joined by, after the Coach's Corner panel, joined by Mr. Byron Casper, great teacher professional, and of course, son of legendary Billy Casper, late Billy Casper. He's going to be joining me on Thursday evening of the Masters, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on during that early part of the Thursday of the Masters tournament. And also, he's going to bring some great tips and training that his father did during his Masters experience. And we're going to have a contest, and I'll announce that in a little more detail next Thursday because we're 2 weeks away from the Masters. But next Thursday, I'm going to give you more information. We're going to have a great contest, so we want you all to participate in that. You can phone in, you can email, and I'll give you the details next week and what you have to do to participate. But we're going to have a great contest and a great prize that we will be giving out that Thursday evening. So that'll be April 7th, Byron Casper and myself on the second half of Golf Talk Live. Thank you, everybody. Again, I always enjoy doing this program. Special thank you to some of my sponsors, supporters of the program, Mr. Jonathan Laird from South Coast Golf Guide. Go to southcoastgolfguide.com to learn more about a great publication here in the southeastern part of the United States. Meredith Kirk, thank you as always. Go to meredithkirk.com. Nikki and Tiffany Litherland, thank you for all of your help spreading the word. Mr. Bernie Pinder from Ontic Golf, go to onticgolf.com. And Mr. Sean Kelly, owner of linkedgolfers.com. And Mr. Peter Doyle, Doyle Golf Solutions over in Ireland. Thank you all very much for all of your continued support. I will see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central right here on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody and have a great weekend and happy Easter.